Okay, thank you everyone for attending this webinar. My name is Ying. I am the China representative for Global New York. And hopefully through this webinar, I will help you to have a better idea of how to do business in China, especially from the company based in New York State. So first of all, I'd like to give you a brief introduction of China. China, it's a highly populated country with population around 1.4 billion, and the capital of China is Beijing. We cover a geographic area of around 3.7 million square miles, which is roughly the same as the United States. The official language we speak here is Mandarin Chinese, and the currency we use here is RMB, which is also called yuan in Chinese. One US dollar today is roughly around 6.91 RMB. As Lennox has shown you before, China, it's a great export country it's a great import country for goods from the United States, especially for the goods from New York State. The major imports in China include equipment, energy, vehicles, and metals. So let's take a brief look at current China and US trade. China is the third importer of US goods. In 2019, China imported around 106.6 billion US dollars of US goods, just right after Canada and Mexico. The top 5 industries of export from US to China includes aerospace products, semiconductors, oilseeds, motor vehicles, and instrumentation. Meanwhile, China is the second importer of the New York State goods. Lennox showed a same graph as I'm showing now, which showed China was the number 9 importer of New York State goods. But now my number is showing the China imports from New York State, including Hong Kong. So Hong Kong, in total, China imports around 9.4 billion New York State goods last year, which majority was exported to Hong Kong. However, more than 90% of the exports from New York to Hong Kong were resold to China. Because majority of the business that entered Asia through Hong Kong ended up in China to mainland. And in 2018, New York exports to China supported around 65,000 American jobs in 2018. And the top industries export from New York to China includes industrial machinery, instrumentation, scrap products, engines, and soap and cleaning products. And as you may all know, China and the US signed a Phase 1 deal in January 2020 as a positive sign since 2018, the trade tension started. Within the Phase 1 deal, China agreed to purchase 200 billion US dollars of ex-US goods, which covered in 4 sectors: manufactured goods, energy goods, services, and agriculture goods. And China is keeping up with the promise. Up till June 2020, China has reached 23.3% of the total 200 billion US dollars target, which is leaving energy goods, services, agriculture goods, a majority of the numbers within these 3 sectors to be purchased within this year and next year, which creates huge opportunities for New York State companies in these sectors to export to China. However, we all see some challenges in the current market between the 2 countries and in global pandemic. We're facing some challenges in COVID-19. We're facing challenges in global competition in different markets, and we're facing unsolved tariffs issues between China and the US. However, we believe that these challenges and competitions are create better opportunities for New York and US companies with better and innovative products to enter China now, because consumers in China are now looking for innovative products with high quality and high value. So I want to give you an introduction of two sectors with opportunities for New York State companies to enter China. The first one, I want to focus on consumer products, especially within these sectors: food and beverage, baby care products, cosmetics, and consumer healthcare products. In food and beverage, especially in organic sector, China is a booming market now, with Beyond Meat entered China earlier in 2020. And a lot of organic wine companies from the US, especially north of New York, have been entered China with these special products that were never in the market before. And for baby care products, USA is the biggest export market for baby products in China. And for cosmetics, there are a lot of mature brands and startups that are entering China through e-commerce. And with the growing aging population in China, particularly in the elderly care sector, it is a perfect timing for healthcare companies to enter China this year. As I mentioned before, with the rising income and changing demographics in the Chinese market, there is a growing purchasing power for different kinds of products. And with the development of mobile technology, people now prefer to shop online. Especially with the coronavirus, people cannot travel overseas to buy imported products. People can no longer go to shopping malls without masks to go shop. So now it is a growing market for e-commerce in China as well. And in fact, China has the biggest e-commerce market in the world. So let's look at some data. In 2019, the online retail transaction value in China, it's around 1.5 trillion US dollars. It's the #1 in the world. And the second biggest market is the United States, with around 600 billion US dollars. And if you look at the circles in this map, China's online retail market is larger than the next 10 markets combined in 2019. And is still growing. And one of the biggest opportunity for a New York State company is cross-border e-commerce. Now, why is it a great opportunity for New York State companies? Because with cross-border e-commerce, a foreign company doesn't need to have a business entity in China. And you don't need to have any sales team or BD team to be based in China. You can simply be in New York somewhere and work with an agency in China and an e-commerce platform to sell your products to Chinese customers. The biggest platform for cross-border e-commerce includes Tmall Global, which is owned by Alibaba Group. And the second biggest e-commerce platform is JD Worldwide. Now, the 10 biggest growing category in the cross-border e-commerce industry includes cosmetics, which is the biggest one. Majority of the cosmetics products that are sold in China are imported from Europe or the US. The second line is baby and maternity products. The US, it's the biggest exporter for these products in China. The third part is healthcare. Fourth is personal care. Then it goes gifts and luxury products, computer and office, home appliance, food and beverage, watches, and digital products. Among these 10 categories, the 4 sectors that I mentioned before, which have the biggest potential for New York State, are all within these 10 most popular categories through cross-border e-commerce in China. And if you look at the data here on the right side, for the last decade, the cross-border e-commerce gross volume increased from 6 billion yuan in 2013 to around 300 billion yuan up till today. And it is still growing faster than ever. The second sector I want to talk about is healthcare sector. With the growing aging population and income growth, it creates a high demand for pharmaceutical products and advanced medical technology in China. Especially with the public health hospital reform started in 2012. Over the past 8 years, the government has been implementing a lot of changes into the healthcare system, which now requires better products and better technology to make this new system work. And the driving forces for these growing healthcare sector includes rising income, changing of people's lifestyle. A lot of people are moving from small cities to big cities, the growing awareness of personal health, the air pollution situations in big cities, an aging population, and the changes in the system. And of course, you're probably wondering how is China doing with COVID-19 recovery? With all the opportunities that I just talked about, China has actually been reopened for business from coronavirus since it was the first country with a pandemic in January, and the country started to reopen in April. And now China is leading the global economic recovery post-COVID-19. So Europe and China were among the first ones that slowly reopened for business. Now we see a second wave in Europe due to summer holidays. But in Asia, most of the countries are pretty stable, and China has economically recovered first from COVID-19. In the beginning of this year, when coronavirus started, Chinese government decided to drop all the GDP target for 2020. However, after a decline of 6.8% in first quarter in 2020, China saw a growing 3.2% in GDP in the second quarter of 2020. And even though the government is no longer having a target for 2020 on GDP, there is a 5% GDP growth that can be definitely seen for the next 2 quarters of 2020, according to analysis from Beijing University. And as Lennox mentioned before, every year we host a trade mission from New York. Last year, it was around 8 to 10 companies that attended the trade show in China, and Lennox lead a group of companies to come to Shanghai for a trade show for MedTech, which is one of the biggest medical industry trade show in China. And I just want to share with you 2 of the companies that attended the trade show last year with their success stories. Our office conducted business partnership research for these companies, and currently they are still in touch with these potential business partners in China. Even after a year later, they are still building a long-term relationship with the Chinese companies, and they are still overcoming the difficulties and challenges as we're facing now. But China is definitely the market for at this moment. It is a perfect time to enter China market as the economy has recovered and the export business and import business started to recover as well. And as China is a very big country and a very big market, there are a lot of cultural differences, language differences, and different ways of people doing business here. So I would like to show you some tips and advice of when you come to China, the ways of how you can succeed here. China is getting more and more competitive as every country wants to enter the Chinese market. And it is no longer enough to just have a product that works or to have a good product with good quality. People tend to value more on the story of the product, the value of the product, and the vision of the product as well. And if you think you already know China, please think twice, because this country is changing all the time and the customers' behaviors are changing all the time. Please understand that the China speed is complicated even as a local to catch up with. And relationship is important here, but the regulations and laws also prevail. Please be aware that the significant impact of social media in the Chinese consumer market is called WeChat, as we don't use Facebook here, we don't use Instagram here. So if you want to do business with Chinese companies or Chinese people, please install an app called WeChat. And if as many people know that China had problems with IP protection, it is changing fast, and the more infrastructure is now in place to help yourself and your company. You can simply use the law as the best tool to protect yourself and stay ahead of the game to have innovative ways of doing business here. And while you work with a local supplier or partner, please always be cautious, because China is so big. There are so many different kinds of business. There are so many kinds of ways that people do business. Even within the domestic business, there are a lot of ways to do business. There are a lot of ways of behaviors and how to maintain relationships. Please always have background checks and due diligence when you find a partner that you want to trust, or when you find a product that you want to work with. And last but not the least, the ESD China office is here to help you with all the challenges and difficulties you might have when you enter China business, or simply wants to know more about how China works. So 5 of the services that we provide here includes market intelligence research, business partner search, a potential partner background check and due diligence, public policy analysis, and trade show logistics assistance. Among these services, you can simply apply online for an EMAS program, just as what Lennox provided before through the link on ESD website. And our team based in Shanghai will be helping you with a report and analysis. And please feel free to contact me through email or phone if you have any more questions of how you want to do business in China, or just want to understand more about the Chinese market in your specific sector. And please feel free to ask me any questions that you might have. Thank you so much for attending this webinar. And I hope that you have a better understanding of China now.